Hi folks, this is Constantine from Knives of the North, and today we're going to give a quick demonstration on how to sharpen your Scandinavian knife. Now all the knives that we carry have what's called a Scandinavian grind, which means they have a single bevel that starts just about halfway across the knife blade and continues down to the edge. This technique that I'm going to show you cannot be used with most knives sold in the US today, because most modern knives have a dual bevel. They have a fairly narrow primary bevel and then a much narrower, much sharper secondary bevel. So the technique that I'm going to show you cannot be used with a knife like this. It can only be used with a knife with a Scandinavian grind. Now what I'm going to use to sharpen this knife today is called a diamond plate. And the reason I'm using this is because they're small, they're comfortable, they fit in your hand, and they take decades to wear out. Of course, you could also use a stone, which is more traditional and also just as effective. So what you do in order to sharpen your knife is you're going to take your sharpener, if it's a diamond plate or a stone or whatever, and you're going to lay it flat against the bevel. You want to be careful you're not rocking in one direction or another. You want to be flat against the bevel, and then just move in a circular motion. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm removing material from the blade, thus making the edge sharper. So do a little bit first on one side, and flip it, and do it on the other side. And that's it. And again, I could use a stone as well, same technique, lay it flat against the bevel, and move in a circular motion. And it will be just as effective as the diamond plate. Now let's talk about if you sharpen wet or dry. Truth is, it doesn't matter. What I'm doing right now is I'm sharpening this knife without using oil or water on the stone. And it's going to be just as effective as if I were to use some wetting substance. Now the wetting substance would make it a bit smoother, slide a bit better, take a little bit less effort to sharpen it, but in the end, the result is the same. One thing you do want to watch out for though, is as I'm sharpening this knife, as I'm wearing away material from this blade, I'm generating metal dust. The metal dust is going to get stuck in the grit, in the sharpener, and make it smoother and make it less effective. So even though I'm not using any wetting substance, any water or oil right now, I do want to periodically take this and rinse it off, to rinse the dust off of it, to keep the grain consistent and keep it effective. Speaking of grain and grit, other folks ask me, what kind of grit, what kind of grain should I use for a sharpener? And it all depends on how sharp or dull your knife is to begin with. If your knife already has a fairly sharp edge, and all you want to do is hone it a little bit, you want to use a much higher grain, a much finer sharpener, 1200, 1400, 1600 grit, just to hone that fine razor edge on the knife. However, if the knife is duller, you want to start with something that has a lower grain and is more coarse, 600 grit, 800 grit. Now, if you were to start with a higher grit, 1200, 1400 grit, truth is you can get just as sharp of an edge, but it would take a lot longer. So do your hand and your wrist a favor, and if you have a knife which is fairly dull to begin with, start with a coarser sharpener to wear away more material quickly, and as you get closer to an edge, then you switch up to successively higher and higher grits of sharpening implement. And that's all what I got, folks. Thanks for watching.